This is a professional performance, right, Mom?
Yeah. Yeah.
NBC News is interviewing you.
Well, why don't you put that on there?
What we'd like to do is for you to, maybe with a little bit of prompting along the way, is to tell us your life story beginning when you were born, your parents, mom and dad, their name, where you were born, specifically, house up on top of the hill over behind the lime plant, ever how you want to describe
Down the
it.
highway.
Did
From
they,
Keystone.
you know, they might have picked you up on the side of the road in a basket. I don't know.
For all I know, might have too.
But that's what we want to do. You get the idea, and Linda and I will try to prompt you along the way with some questions that we might add to it.
I've got a picture of me, and I was cross-eyed when I was about 6 months old. And that's the youngest I know anything about me.
Okay, when were you born, Mom?
April the 14th, 1914.
April 14th, 1914. Who's your mom and dad?
Alma, Halton, and Ben Grubbs.
And Ben Grubbs. And who was your brothers and sisters?
Well, I was the first one.
You were the oldest. Name your brothers and sisters starting at the oldest and going to the youngest.
Well, now, I've got it down on a piece of paper, but I don't know whether I can tell you. Dolly's next. No,
Ben?
no, Ben's way down the line.
Ben's down the line.
Yeah, Barney was after me,
Okay.
and then Dolly. And I think Lois was next. And Helen, Ben, and Billy. Have I left out one? Any y'all?
How many are there?
Well, there was 9, I think. One little girl was born dead. Julie.
All of the children that died when they were kids are buried in the Pelham Cemetery, correct?
Except Julie. Now, I don't know, she was born dead, and she's not in that cemetery, so I don't know what they did.
Okay. And tell us something about your childhood. Things that you remember about growing up. We were talking before we started taping of things that you used to play, games that you used to play.
I know we lived at Keystone, right by the railroad. That's when Daddy worked there at Keystone.
You talking about over behind the plant? What we called over in the area where we called Go Hill.
It's right there in Keystone, and we was on the right side of the railroad, going down the railroad.
Toward Alabama.
Yeah. And
Where all the blacks live along in there? Where all the homes were at, where the black workers that worked at Keystone lived?
No, there wasn't any black ones that lived there. They lived back over toward the creek, over that way, because old Negro Anna, she worked for Mama's son, and me and the kids played with her nigger daughter and nigger son.
Okay, I learn things every day when I talk about this subject. You lived there close to the railroad tracks.
And I had me a feller, when the train went by, we'd wave at each other.
Well, how old was he and how old was you?
Well, I was,
He worked on the train.
yeah, he was working on the train, and I was just, Lord, I don't know how old I was, maybe 10, 11.
Well, when did you move out of this house that's next to the railroad tracks on back over, up on the hill
Up on
behind,
the hill.
behind the plant?
I think that was what was done.
That was y'all's, as far as you can recall, that was your next move?
Yeah. And
Y'all sure did move a lot. Y'all owe people money or something and they was kept on
I
chasing
don't know
you?
about that, might have. And I walked from that house on the top of the hill,
Here's
across
another
the
pop
creek,
story about walking all
across
this
the
way.
creek to the little schoolhouse, and who is it, Billy, or some of them don't remember that little, well, it could be Billy.
Dolly said that she remembered it.
Did she?
Yeah, Brad
Walked to the
told me.
little schoolhouse, and walked with icicles hanging from the trees along as my arm, big ones. We don't see that anymore.
Well, they say when people live a long time together, you can't tell their stories apart. And you sound like Pops talking about walking 10 miles in the snow to go to work, go to school every day. So that's par for the course.
What was the games that you played when you were a little girl that we were talking about?
Hopscotch, I remember hopscotch a lot. Hide and seek.
A while ago, you told us another one.
Oh, riding the trees. And
You used to get up and get hold of the tops of the trees and ride them down.
I've got a picture of me and Dolly and Helen, I think it is. And there's a big grapevine. Now this was in the Keystone house where we lived.
Okay. Meeting Claire's over
Yeah,
there.
and this was a big old grapevine out in the back of the house. And we put a ladder on it and we'd climb out there. And I've got a picture of us up in that grapevine. And I've got a picture of, I think I have, of Ben, just a little boy, with some friends out in the back of that house.
The school that you talked about going to, the grade school, that was on the main road that came from Highway 31.
On the left of the road, going into Keystone.
Going toward the railroad tracks from the highway.
And I went to the 7th grade there, and I wasn't doing any good in the 7th grade, so when I went to Slur, they put me back in the 7th grade. So it went to the 7th grade, that little house.
That was a one-room schoolhouse,
All of them.
and everybody was in there together, and that went to the 7th grade, and you left from there and went to Slur.
Yeah.
How many children went to school in that one room?
I don't remember, but it was pretty big little,
Well, Aunt Dolly went to school there then, right?
I don't know there. I don't remember Dolly there.
How many years is it between you and Dolly?
4.
I mean, of course, Dolly says she remembered it, but that doesn't mean that Dolly went there. But
Did they just have one teacher for all those grades? Well, when you went to Solora, then they had different grades.
Yeah.
that was middle school right there. Is that right?
That
What they called it?
What, Slur? It's
Yeah.
Slur. Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you graduated from school? Do you
I was 17.
remember?
Do you remember any of your boyfriends in high school?
I sure do.
Would you care, since the tape's running, and would you care to repeat those names? And let's talk something about those old boyfriends.
She might have
Codger Boyer was my main
been
boyfriend.
man.
But he had a boyfriend, and I was so jealous of him, I didn't know what to do.
He had a
I mean, he had a
girlfriend.
girlfriend.
Well, we'll get this straight here. He had a girlfriend.
Yeah, he had
Right.
a girlfriend.
So, what's his name again now?
Codger.
Codger. Boyer?
Codger, Codger Boyer.
Is that how I got
Well,
that?
did you say he was your boyfriend, but he had a girlfriend?
He had a steady girlfriend,
But
but
you liked him?
I liked him a whole lot.
I've been in that situation before.
Any others particular that come to mind? Did you date any of these guys before Daddy swept you off your feet?
No. I didn't date before me and George went together.
First love.
And you know, we walked to Pelham Church, that's another tale. We walked back and forth to church at Pelham. And me and George would stand by the tree and talk. And the rest of the little old kids had to wait around in the car for us to get through talking before we'd go home.
Well, Daddy was living in Pelham at that time?
Mhm.
And so he came all the way down to Keystone?
Yep, to get me
To
and
get
we
you to
walked.
go to and walk to church?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's a long ways from Pelham all the way down to Keystone.
I don't guess we thought about it being long. And they'd have a revival at night, and we'd walk. A bunch of us would walk at night to church.
Is that the Methodist church there? How was you when you got saved?
Me and George got saved the same time, and we were 17, I think it was, 17, 18.
There at
And we
that
was
church?
baptized in Buck Creek.
You were baptized right on the other side of the railroad tracks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back toward the bridge.
Yeah.
That was the gathering hole of the churches around that area at that time, right? Everybody baptized down there.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
What?
Everybody baptized
Oh, yeah.
down there at that
Uh-huh.
creek.
Yeah.
The Baptist church, Methodist
Oh,
church,
yeah.
everybody used that area down there to go do their baptizing.
What age was y'all when y'all got married?
And I was 21. I was 21 in April, and George was 21 in February. And we went housekeeping right in that stand, started off to running that Keystone filling station.
Is that was the going name of it, Keystone?
I don't think it was.
Or was there a name?
There was a name for it. I think I got a picture with the name on it, so I'll have to look it up.
Who did the store belong to, Mom?
Patterson, Jim Patterson.
Jim Patterson.
Mm-hmm. That was Grandma's boyfriend.
Okay. That was Grandma Holcomb's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. And somehow or another,
Well, how did the property get over to the Grubbs then? If it belonged to this Mr. Patterson?
well, he just bought it from the fellow that was running it to start with.
Yeah, but how did it get in the Grubbs family? if it belonged to him.
Yeah. I think Ben got it from him. When,
Ben, as in your daddy?
no, Ben,
Ben,
Oh,
Ben Junior.
my daddy wasn't living then.
Okay, all right.
You know, Daddy wasn't as old as you are now when he died.
Right. All right, and it was somewhere, it was before y'all, the family owned that property when y'all was running the store then, right?
Oh, yeah, he still owned it, Jim Patterson did.
Still owned it. Were y'all renting it
When
from
we-
him?
Yeah.
Did you make very much money in that?
No, you know why we didn't?
Y'all ate up, Daddy
The family ate it up.
ate up the profits. what
Ate
I-
up the profit. That's one reason we had to quit.
When you say family, you're talking about both of y'all's families?
Yeah.
Not just you and Pops, but your,
Oh, yeah, the
All
whole,
the
whole family, whole family. R.L. Coates and his wife were our best friends. And they'd come down there on Saturday night and we'd close up the stand and lock it up and dance and eat. We'd dance every Saturday night.
You were telling me earlier that when you and Daddy were running that store, that Travis and Myrna were born there while y'all were living in the house attached to the store.
No, we were living in the back of the store when Myrna was born. Two little old rooms.
Yeah, it was a rooms attached to the
Yeah,
store.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And then
I
it was-
remember Miss, Dr. Rhines from Helena come there and sit all night long waiting on Myrna. Just like he was one of the family.
Uh-huh.
And we paid Myrna, we paid him $50 and silver dollars for Myrna.
Now I know why she gave my silver dollars away.
Oh.
So y'all worked in it. Can you put a date on how long y'all stayed working at that store? Any kind of dates ring a bell when you might have stopped running the store and moved out?
I know Myrna had scarlet fever there, and they had to quarantine us in. And let's see, Travis was a little thing about 2 years old, and we were still in that house.
but y'all moved out before Eddie was born.
Yeah,
Eddie and I were born
in
in
the other house.
the old house
Yeah.
that burned down, that we were all raised in.
And how many years is it between Travis and Eddie then?
Between Travis and 85.
5.
Uh-uh.
Travis and you, no,
No.
wait a minute.
Eddie.
Eddie and you is 5 years.
There's not much difference between Travis and
Travis
Eddie.
and Eddie is not the 13 months.
So Travis couldn't have been too awful old there before y'all moved if Eddie was born somewhere else. So it had to be somewhere around the year.
Probably not more
Between
than a year
those two.
anyway, right? But earlier when we were talking, you said that y'all had moved out of the house, out of the store,
Store.
before we built the house where I was born, where Eddie and I were born. And y'all had moved in with Grandma Bentley after Granddaddy had died.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You- So then y'all stayed there and then built the house where Eddie and I were born, where we were all really raised at,
Uh,
there at Keystone.
I'm trying to think why we,
Moved in with grandmother and granddaddy?
yeah,
I don't remember.
You
I
wasn't
don't,
there.
yeah, you wasn't there, I guess you do remember. Now Eddie and Travis was there, cause I remember Travis fell out of the top bunk one night out of his bed
Where?
in Grandma Bentley's house.
And y'all were living there then?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that means that Eddie was already,
Here, yeah.
all right,
Eddie, I guess, was born. Out in that other house behind the stand. Myrna and Eddie, I guess, was born there.
in the house that's behind
Behind the stand.
we're talking about the building that's attached to the store?
No, this was an extra house back.
Behind,
Uh-huh.
okay? And y'all lived there, and to your recollection, that must have been where Eddie was born then? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking right now. Myrna, I know I've got pictures of her and some people that traveled through and they came and parked their mobile home there, and this little girl about Myrna's size, and they made good friends. And Myrna was about 3 years old. I guess that's about right then. Her and Eddie was born there. Myrna was in the stand though. Eddie was born in that house.
And Travis in the stand.
Huh.
Travis was born in the stand or in the house?
Travis was born in the stand, I think.
You think, as you recall, Travis and Myrna were born in the, Travis
In Myrna.
and Myrna were born in the stand, and Eddie was born in the house that was behind the stand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born over in the yet-to-be-built house.
Yeah. I know Eddie was born out there in that house because I had him at home, and I scared them all to death because they thought I was going to bleed to death. Yeah, I know, yeah, Eddie was born out there.
Our old home place that I was born in then, didn't Daddy say that y'all had built that out of part of the old Pelham schoolhouse, lumber out of it, that y'all had built that house
Built
out
the
of?
whole house out of it. And when he was a baby, I have these old straight chairs. I have bumped him half of the night trying to get him to sleep.
I understand what's wrong with him now.
Bumping around in them chairs, I guess, and it was falling.
He must have hit his head.
Let's go back to when you was in high school.
Okay.
Any memorial type moments that you have back when you was in high school? Things that you did? Moments that you might have had
Well,
in high
I
school?
remember Mr. Harmon was the principal there, and he didn't like me and George sweethearts together. And he was always on to us about something. So he just decided he'd make me recite the Raven, Shakespeare's Raven. I don't think I ever learned it, but he had to let me go on. But he tried to make me learn that thing. And he was always saying something to us about being together.
Is it true that you wrote Thompson's alma mater?
I say it is, but I don't guess they say it.
Well, what do you mean, Mom? I don't.
Well, one of those books that they printed from Thompson says that, what year it was, 10 years after I said I wrote it, they say they wrote it.
What, some other students in the school?
Mhm.
Was you in high school when you did this, or was this after you
I
got
was
out?
ready to graduate. I was ready to graduate 12th grade.
Did y'all sing it at that time or something?
And it's been sung ever since.
Do you have that written down anywhere, Mom?
Not, that's what Eddie was after. If I had it where he could try to prove, that I did that, but I don't have it wrote down anywhere.
Who was, do you recall who it was that also said that they wrote it? Your classmates, I assume.
And I think all of my classmates are about dead.
No, but do you recall who it was that
Who?
said, no, Viola didn't write it, I did?
She said that was some people 10 years
That
later.
was a class 10 years after I was graduated.
Okay, okay.
And what was the Kent, one of the Kent's girls? It's got something wrote in that book, those two books that was
Yeah.
written by somebody. And she was the teacher, one of the teachers, and she has a remark to say in there that was the year it was wrote.
Well, who was your kids, Mom? Can you name all your kids?
All of my,
Yeah, all of your children? Oh, you didn't have any? Okay. There was Roger, Travis, Eddie, and Myrna, right?
Yeah.
And Myrna was the meanest.
The meanest.
Right.
Myrna was the sweetest. Myrna.
Well,
I never did have.
I remember distinctly, Mother, trying to mop the floors on Saturday morning and having to lock the screen doors to keep Myrna outside.
I know. She, you all aggravated her to death. That's what you done. But Myrna, we never did. Neither one, me and George, ever did rock her to sleep. We'd take her and lay her in her bed, and she'd go on to sleep.
In other words, she was too mean to rock.
I guess so.
In other words, you didn't spoil her like you did the
No,
others.
I guess I did.
Love you, sis. Well, let's see. There got to be some other questions before we switch subjects. Where all did you go to church when you was growing up? Same church?
Pelham Methodist.
Pelham Methodist Church?
Mhm.
And you and Dad went there after you got married? That's where y'all went to church?
Yeah. How I met George, you hadn't asked that.
How did you meet George Bentley?
Oh, gosh. He came to church one day in his overalls and sat on the front seat. And after church, somebody introduced me to him, and that was it.
About how old do you think y'all were then?
Well, I guess 20, we married at 21. Well, heck, we went together 4 years.
15, 16 years old is what we're talking about.
Because you said y'all were in school together, so you
Yeah.
could be.
You remember things about your mother that you'd like to, that you can recall, that you'd say a few things about, Big Mama?
If I say a few things, well, the best part of it was me coming from over here, over there, well, about once or twice a week, waiting on Mother when she was sick. But I have to say what I think, Mama.
Yeah.
Mama favored, Dolly was her favorite. She would get in a room and close her and Dolly up in the room and sit there and talk all day long. She never did talk to me like that.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I was Grandma's favorite. Up until she died.
How long did Grandma Holcomb live there in the same house with Big Mama?
Well, I guess I was 16 when we lived there. I don't know how old I was when Grandma died.
Do you remember how your mother was when she had you?
When she had me, no, it was 30. I think she was 30. I guess I could go back and find her age and all and see.
Granddaddy worked it. Was the lime plant's name Keystone Lime Works when Granddaddy worked there?
Mm-hmm.
The Hammonds, they owned it, as far as you
There's
remember?
a whole bunch of the Hammonds. Old Granddaddy Hammond, he finally died out, and then it went to all the younger ones.
Or was there, before Granddaddy died, was there any other jobs that you recall that he had, places that he worked?
Mm-mm. He was always
He was, as
there.
far as you remember, he was always at Keystone Lime Works. So, after you and Dad got married, during the war, Daddy went to Silicaca, did he? And worked in the powder mill or something down there?
Yeah.
And when he come back, he used to throw papers?
Yeah. There's one person in Marble over there, he went through there throwing papers, and he threw one into the woman's flower pot on the porch one time, and she said, he stopped and told her he was sorry. She said, "I know you are, how's the rest of your family?" But everybody called him Lucky Teeter. He went through all those places over there like a lightning.
Yeah, since Lynn and I have been married, we've run up on a person or two that recalled Daddy
And
throwing papers down through there.
Yeah.
But then after somewhere you recall when he might have started working at Keystone himself?
Well, when he started work, E.L. took over the paper route. E.L. had come out of the Army.
Out of the Army?
Mm-hmm.
And he took over the paper route?
Mm-hmm.
Learn something every day, don't you?
And he stayed with us.
E.L. stayed with us?
Now, I'm saying that, I don't, maybe he didn't. But I know he took the paper out for a while.
Okay. And Daddy worked with Keystone Lime Works up till somewhere around 1960 or so, when they closed it down and he went to Roberta
Mhm.
and then got sent to Atlanta, right?
And I cried a whole year after we moved. A whole year.
And didn't do a bit of good, did it?
Didn't do a bit of good.
Do you recall any of your mother's and your dad's brothers and sisters? Can you name
Well,
some of those?
I don't know a thing about Mama, of course, you know.
Yeah.
But Lord have mercy, there was 9 boys in Daddy's family and 2 girls.
Can you name them?
I think I can.
I'd help you count them.
Let's see. Aunt Abby and Aunt May was the girls. And there's Luther, Clay, Euless, John, Ben. How many is that? 2 more? Ted, Ruth.
Okay. What about
You
you?
know, Ted lived in, below, this side of the, Alabama and Florida line, down that way, and I can't think of his name, Clay, until he had been dead about 2 years.
No, I mean, I don't
You
remember.
didn't
No.
know that, no.
Myrna's the only one that's old enough to remember stuff like that.
Oh. Now, Mama was married to Euless before she was married to Daddy.
His brother.
Mm-hmm.
So Big Mama was married to Euless
Euless.
Grubbs,
Yeah.
who was the brother of Ben,
Yeah.
and they just left each other.
Now, I don't know what the problem or what happened.
Cut the tape.
I don't know.
But they didn't have any children, right?
Mm-mm.
You know how? Do you remember how long they were married?
I didn't even know it myself until I got my birth certificate, and it had, she was married twice.
Okay. So that's another interesting family thing that we can search out. Do you recall any of Grandma Holcomb's?
I knew her mother, Granny.
Granny.
Mhm.
That was her given name, Granny?
No, Nancy was her name.
Nancy. She's buried at Pelham also,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh. My grandma.
Right beside Grandma.
Mhm.
And past that, we don't know anything, right?
We don't know nothing. We never asked any questions or anything. I don't know why, but we didn't.
We don't know anything about great granddad Holcomb.
Mm-mm.
Nothing, any direction.
Nothing.
We just know who he was and
We knew some of Grandma's people in Birmingham because we went to see them quite a bit. And I don't
We
know-
talking about Grandma Hawkins?
Hawthorne, yeah. And that was Ruby and Molly and Eric, and Ruby was their daughter, and, they lived there in Birmingham, they're the only ones we knew of. And they called them cousins, so I don't know.
Do you have any recollection of where Grandma Hawkins lived before
Okay.
living with Big Mama?
Yeah, she lived in a house there in Keystone. I think we lived there too. That just brought to mind that house. As you said, we moved all over Keystone, I guess.
I believe y'all.
Y'all gypsies.
I remember when E.L. and Precious kept saying that Granddaddy Bentley must have got chased out of Carolinas for stealing horses or something, but it sounded like to me the Grubbs might have too.
Oh. Yeah, that was a house right there in Keystone. Between Keystone and the creek.
Between Keystone and the creek,
Mm-hmm.
toward where the lime plant was at area,
Yeah,
over that same road.
yeah.
Okay. So there was
Cause,
there were several folks that lived back out there.
I remember Dolly there. Dolly was she would lose her breath and just die off completely when she got mad. That's the whole thing.
Mabel did that,
Did she?
yeah, when she was young.
It scared me to death, but, the doctors would tell you to let them alone, they'll get to breath.
And Mabel would do it in front of Mama, but she'd never do it in front of Daddy.
Really.
Scare Mama to death.
I remember Dolly there, and I can't place any of the rest of us.
Yeah.
Now, that house I told you by the railroad
Yeah.
where we lived in,
Yeah.
I remember Barney there and Lois. I remember Lois when she died, they laid her out on the bed. She had a little long white dress on. She was red-headed and blue eyes.
Can you remember anything about the songs that were popular at that time, or was we in war? Anything about the wars or anything? Who was the
Well, I
president?
know E.L. was in war. What was he in? Which war?
World War II.
Did you have a favorite song?
You know, that, when they was playing all those old songs this afternoon,
Yeah.
and I said, Lord, those are old songs, these are old folk songs, long time ago.
Yeah. a lot
And
of
now I can't tell you which ones they were.
I remember looking at in a scrap book or just an old box here a while back, and it had a lot of letters in there that I believe you and Daddy used to write to each other, love letters. Then y'all used to, maybe that's the reason y'all got in trouble at school.
I think it was. Yeah, they're still at the house.
Yeah. We used to have a dog at home. What was his name? Back over in
What
Keystone.
was that old doggy's name?
German Shepherd.
Yeah.
We used to have
Travis. You got a picture of Travis with it.
Right.
Laying by his side.
Brownie.
Brownie, yeah.
And we used to have a little miniature collie, I believe, at one time.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But you remember the
About 30
Fowler-
cats.
You remember fast those dogs like to eat brownie at one time?
Yeah. They like to fight through the fence.
Mhm.
And he just knows. Like bit his tongue off one time.
Mm.
Do you remember, you know, the store that y'all ran? So Highway 31 was already there.
Mhm.
What we call now the new Highway 31.
Yeah.
But the old one, which was where our paper box was at,
Where you boys threw rocks, not rocks up and down that road.
right. Do you remember when they used to use that road as the main road?
Don't remember
It was always the one up front then, at the front of the store.
that. Yeah. The only thing I remember of that dirt road you talking about was when Helen and Bernie was married. He'd get her by the hair of the head and drag her up the road. And it was on that road.
Well, why would he take her by the head of the hair?
He was mad at her. He was mean. Mhm. And she was mean too.
Well, let's
Let's strike that out.
Yeah, strike that out. Let's talk about something else. Let's change subjects just a minute. Let's talk about Daddy.
Okay.
And you got to speak for him. Yeah, I understand. But in your conversations with him all those years and everything, you know where Daddy was born? It's to try to put, I guess, not put words in your mouth, but try to help the conversation along. When Granddaddy owned the property up at Pella, there on top of the hill, is that where Daddy was
I
born?
think that's
That you,
where he
as
was
far
born.
as you can
As far as
remember?
I know.
And it's based on the photograph that you have and the conversations, the old store that Granddaddy had to be up in that area somewhere up there.
Somewhere up in that area. So if you look at the picture, it was just a level ground all around.
Granddaddy moved from that area over there over into
Across the mountain.
Cross the Mountain, over in the area around Fogle Hollow, whatever that place is called over there, where they,
Yeah.
on the Elliottsville Road, is that the name of that road over there? Simmsville Road?
Simmsville.
Simmsville Road. And that's where they lived, and
You know, they got burned out one
they
time.
got, I recall Daddy talking about 2 or 3 times that their house burnt
Mhm.
with a fireplace
Mhm.
over there, and they built it right back, right where it was at.
Yeah.
But, do you recall any things that Daddy used to talk about doing when he was growing up? I know Dad used to like to play ball.
Oh, yeah, Lord. And then all the girls thought he had the prettiest legs anybody around.
Maybe that's where Dale gets his. His is pretty.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Did you used to go with Daddy when he'd play ball when he was a young man, after y'all had already gotten married? Did you used to go watch him play ball?
Mhm. Yeah.
So y'all played ball, y'all went a lot of places around Shelby County and into Chilton County and stuff to go play ball on Saturdays and Saturdays and Sundays, didn't you?
Yeah. Me and George always went to Myrna's especially about this, and now right now, we always went to see the wrestling match in Birmingham. Every week, every Monday night, we'd be up there watching that wrestling match. Myrna said, yeah, when we got big enough to go with you, y'all quit.
We
Queen for the Day or something you were on one time. What was the show?
Queen for the Day, yeah. I forgot all about that.
surely that this tape is in the archives up there somewhere. If it is, it'd be worth it, any price.
Who went to see that, to do that, Queen for the Day?
Queen for the Day.
That was through the Eastern Star.
That was it through, we all got together. It was an organization. What was it?
Home demonstration party?
Yeah. Mhm. Since she knew all about that.
My mother belonged to it. That's where
Oh.
Mother made that silver tray she's got with
Mhm.
birds
Mhm.
for the home demonstration fund.
All I remember is watching it on television.
I don't remember how I know it, but I can remember there was something about Queen.
I
for the Day.
remember watching that on television that day and thinking that you don't sound Southern. She sounded Southern. You know, whatever tag you want to put on Southern.
First I ever heard myself. I did something at school on tape, and I forgot, I don't know what it was. But I heard that tape after it was through with, and I said, Lord, is that me talking? I just couldn't believe it.
Well, we talked about some things about where Daddy used to work. Didn't you used to have a job outside the house?
Oh, yeah.
Several different
I worked
places?
at Western Auto in Birmingham. Me and Helen went to work together.
At Western Auto in Birmingham.
Rode the bus, and I worked at Western Auto in Alabaster, and I worked at a 5 and 10 store. Somebody run
Griffin's
Griffin's.
5 and dime.
Yeah. And I worked at
You worked for Keystone Lime Works at one time, didn't you?
yeah, that was my last work. I
That
think.
was your last outside the home job, wasn't it?
Mhm.
With Keystone Lime Works. What did you do at
I wish
Keystone?
I'd never worked at all, because I get to thinking about leaving you all and going to work.
Yeah, it was terrible. I remember it. What did you do at Keystone?
Oh, I was the payroll clerk.
Oh, is that how we got so wealthy? Well, is that all the jobs that you held, that you remember outside of the home?
Uh-huh. Yeah. No,
I thought you would.
Heinz, worked for Dr. Hines' son. He had it wasn't an automobile place. But I don't know what it was. Some kind of business he had. And I worked for him, so. I was a rounder, I guess.
Didn't you work? I'm asking. Where Dr. Hertz, there by Walker's Mercantile, and then right down from that, Dr. Hertz had moved, I think, or there was doctor's offices right there in that corner. where there was open place that went to the back street. Pool hall was back there.
That's who I'm talking about.
You worked right there at one
Yeah.
time. You weren't there when the tornado came through.
Yeah, We run to the door and watch that tornado cross the road down below our house today.
Is that the one that hit Sora? Somebody like that?
There was two of them that I know of that came through Slur. No.
No,
The
that
first
was the
one-
one that did all the damage.
Right.
Because I can remember that right after the tornado came through Sora that time, down in there where the Dr. Stinson's office and all that was, one of us was sick, and Mother and Daddy had to carry us to the doctor. And it was right after it happened.
Really?
And I can remember, and I remember us going down there and everything just torn up.
I remember the tornado went through Helena. It just tore Helena up, there wasn't nothing left. I had a friend that, it blew her in a tree and hung her on the limbs. Alta King, it was her sister.
That got killed in the tornado. Daddy had brother E.L., his sister Ruth, Pearl Ruth,
Yeah,
and brother Christmas Smith.
Christmas Smith. And Lopez.
And this Lopez was the one
The little
that
baby
scalded,
that was scalded.
that was scalded.
Yeah.
And he was buried in a small unmarked grave
Over at, on that.
between the Bentley's property and who was the folks that lived up? We'll come back to that, because I know they owned.
Yeah, I know, Pops has mentioned that a time or two, and I don't know whether he knew exactly where it was or not. He knew it was over there somewhere.
Well, I recall when I was a kid walking down that road with Dad and him pointing out through there and telling me that the baby was buried out in there.
Mm-hmm.
Where that was, I just know it was out there on the side of the road.
Wonder why they buried that baby way over there.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, maybe at that time, maybe that was, I don't know. Maybe there was somebody else buried out there too.
Yeah.
I don't
could've
know.
been.
Maybe they intended that being a burial spot out there.
Yeah. Because I think that baby was born,
What'd you say the
Before-
child? What'd you say the child's name was now?
Lopez.
Lopez.
That's Mr. Bentley's name. Lopez Eugene.
Was it Lopez Eugene or Eugene Lopez?
Eugene Lopez.
Okay, Eugene Lopez.
Yeah.
Well, is that what EL stands for?
EL that was his name, EL. Didn't have nothing
Sure,
else
that's
to do.
where the derived from.
EL Junior is what they call him.
Why don't we take a break and we'll resume this interrogation.
Like when you little, you got a half of them.
Okay, we're back from break. We went back to a commercial break, been gone about 30 seconds, I guess, and we're back at it again. Mom was telling me during the commercial break about another boyfriend that she remembered when she was in high school. What was his name, Mom?
Lowen Tharp. I bet you know him.
Was that, could
You
that
know
have been?
him?
Well, we both know a Lloyd Tharp from Olive Alp. And what I don't know and want to ask Linda as we're sitting here, if that could be his dad. Is he a junior? Do you know if he was a junior?
Well, I guess it was his dad then.
THARPE.
Mhm.
And that's interesting.
I went with his son for about 3 years.
You did.
Lloyd Tharp's junior.
Well, I bet that was.
Small world, Lady Ball.
Yeah. That was his daddy.
Where did he live? Do you know?
He could have lived over that way.
Well, he went to school at Thompson
Yeah,
at the high school, or when you was in
high school,
the middle school area
high school.
at high school.
If I remember correctly, I know Lloyd's grandparents, I know his grandmother was buried up there at a church on Monavile Highway,
Mhm.
up Solora Way, up that way. I can't remember the little church, the one up, the little brick church on the side of the road.
Yeah.
That's where his grandmother was buried, so I think his dad and them were from up that area.
Mhm.
There's a church with a cemetery right beside it, almost down to
Kent's
Moore's
Dairy.
Crossroad.
Yeah, Lord, towards Kent's Dairy, down in that area somewhere. Just a little further down.
Well, you know, Elliotsville's church is there. It's got a big old
Yeah.
cemetery, and Eddie used to cut grass there when he was growing up.
It's a pretty good size.
Presbyterian church, I believe. But anyway, there's several churches and cemeteries down that road.
I went to the funeral there.
Mhm.
We were talking about Dad's brothers and sister. Do you recall what Ruth's children's names were? Ruth's married name was Myrick, correct?
Mhm.
And what was her children's name?
Her first married name was Johnson.
Her first married name was Johnson.
That's Alma Jean's daddy was a Johnson.
Was it? Okay, and Alma Jean was a Johnson.
Mhm.
Then she married Myrick.
Yeah.
What was his name? You know, remember his
I
name?
just call it, I think we all just call him Myron.
You just called him Myrick. All right, what was their other, did they have other children other than Alma Jean?
Nancy was one of them, and the one in Marietta, I can't think of her name.
No, those are Alma Jean's kids.
Oh, yeah, But you're talking
Ruth.
about
Did Ruth,
Ruth
Pearl,
just had Alma Jean.
Alma Jean was the only child.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nancy, and who was the other children of Alma Jean?
And Nancy and Michael and the one in Marietta, I can't think of her name. The two girls and the boy.
That lived, she lived, as far as you know, she lives in Marietta now, right?
That girl does.
Right. All right, and Smith, his boys' names were what?
Jeff.
No,
Sure.
Smith. Smith's boys.
Oh, Smith's boy. Don and Johnny and Frank.
And who was the oldest?
Don.
And Frank
Frank next and.
next, and then Johnny was the
the
youngest.
baby.
And as we're sitting here, as far as we know, Frank is in Atlanta somewhere.
Well, the last time I heard from
As far as we know,
Yeah.
right now.
He lived over in Dunwood.
He lives over in Dunwood as far as we know,
Yeah,
and he's a lawyer.
yeah.
And Johnny is,
By now, he's probably retired too.
but Johnny, last count you had of him was probably up in Virginia somewhere as a musician.
Yeah.
And Don's still in Montgomery, right?
Greenville.
In Greenville. Uh, You and I talked about some other things during the commercial break. What was it? Do you recall?
Let's see, what was it? Oh, I tell you, my memory is very short. What was it we talked about?
For those that can't see, my wife is pointing at me when Mother said something about her memory being short.
Well, we were talking about,
What about you and Pops after y'all moved to Atlanta? Well, let's back up, because you and I talked about going through and talking and giving some names of folks that you and Dad were friends with back at Pelham, at the Methodist church that y'all belonged to for so long there. Can you name me the first pastor that y'all recall having there? Let's just say after you and Dad got married. Or name some of the pastors that y'all had there
I
without
can name you Brother Jones.
Brother Jones, we all know, right?
Yeah. Brother Jones.
Do you remember about how long he stayed there?
He stayed there a pretty good time, I think. But I don't know how long it
A
was.
pretty good time for a Methodist preacher, might be 2 years.
Well, he was there longer than 2 years.
Yeah. You and Dad used to be, as you said earlier in this tape, you and Dad used to be good friends with Mr. and Miss Coates,
Coach.
right?
Yeah. Their son, R.L. Sonny.
There's what was Mr. Coates' name?
Walter.
Walter Coates.
Mhm.
I believe earlier in the tape you said R.L.
Well, I meant, what was his name? Has gotten
Are you talking about Marguerite's mom and dad?
talking about Marguerite's brother,
Okay.
that, you know.
That lived across the pasture from there.
And he, some kind of field thing fell over, and what was it? He was driving out in the field and it fell and killed him.
All right, some of the other folks at the church that y'all knew well, and I remember us going to prayer meeting on Wednesday nights at people's houses. I remember going up to meeting Claire's and having prayer meeting on Wednesday night. Up to Bob Powers.
Miss Alice is the old lady I was thinking about.
Okay. That lived over there, sort of behind Bob Powers.
Mhm.
That house that set when the roads split, old Highway 31, and the other one went toward the Brantleys.
Yeah, I think so.
And her house sit right there, and that's the fork, right?
Yeah. and Sarah Butler, and she had a daughter that was crippled, couldn't get around. I don't know whether you were down there or not, but she's back to your age, I guess. But
The Cumberlands,
Ida Mae and Mason,
May and Mason,
um,
Blatzers,
the Blatzers, and you already mentioned Don Marguerite, and the Cost girls that lived across the street from us, practically, when we lived in me and Claire's house.
The Sheltons,
Roberta,
JT,
JT,
Don Marguerite.
yeah.
Did y'all ever have, other than maybe playing ball, Daddy playing ball with Mr. Wilson?
Dunk Wilson
Dunk.
and Norman.
Yeah.
Did we have what?
Any other kind of dealings with them? Did y'all go get drunk with them and stuff like that?
No. We visited them a lot.
Oh.
We visited them
Yeah.
sometimes. I was trying to think on.
Who was the postmaster at Keystone? Where did y'all get everybody get their mail down at Keystone?
John Butler had the post office out in front of his house.
Didn't he have it somewhere, wasn't it somewhere else before he moved it out in front of his house?
I
When
guess
they-
it was over at Keystone.
Until they shut Keystone Lime Works down and closed the commissary down,
It was in the commissary.
it was inside the commissary, wasn't it?
Mhm. And somebody else, our friends, Dora McDaniel, lived on that old road. She had 2 or 3 boys.
On what old road, Mo?
She all played ball, played blocks, knocking rocks. The old
Okay,
road.
okay, McDaniels. Now, where did they live there?
Lived in a house, go out on that road, turn left, and they lived in a house on the right on that road. There's a lot of houses out there.
Okay, let's get a point of reference. Where Mr. and Ms. Wilson lived?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
But they lived in, before you got.
They lived in the
to-
house on the corner before you got to Mr. and Ms. Wilson's house?
One of, well, you turned there and went, I walked many a walk when I worked at Keystone. I turned right to that house and walked out to out to the commissary.
What's, that was the first house. You remember where Daddy had the garden spot? Right there on the side of the old road. We used to garden there at one time.
Yeah.
What's you remember where the Worthies lived?
Yeah.
All right. What's the man's name that lived right directly across in front of the Butlers? Next door to the Wilsons. You used to, when we went to the commissary, we went past his house and walked through that trail between the Wilsons and that house, right?
Yeah, they had 2 daughters. I can't think of their names.
Okay. But the Maxwells lived where now? I mean, tell me again where the Maxwells lived. But I'm sure Eddie and Myrna probably remember that, but I don't.
The Maxwells. Roger, I don't know where the Maxwell lived. Unless it was in that row of houses there for the one we just now talking about.
But they lived right in there somewhere.
Yeah, in
Okay.
there somewhere.
Okay.
Same place, house.
Did you said you used to work for Keystone Lime Works. You didn't ever work in the commissary any? There,
No, in the office.
you worked in the office. Was Mr. Butler the only one that worked in the commissary? Did he handle other things other than the post office part, or was there
No.
somebody else that ran the
Somebody
commissary?
else from the commissary. I remember those niggers would come in there. I want some RC and a, what's it? Big moon pie.
Something always amazed me, the fact, did you have someone that come in and did your ironing or clean
An
house and
old
stuff
lady,
with
and
you?
who was it? Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember the black lady that used to come in there. And,
This was a white lady.
I remember a black lady used to come into our house
When you was.
when I was a kid.
Yeah, I did have.
Whether,
well,
what
could
she
cook.
did, whether she washed, ironed, or what, I
She
remember.
cooked. She could cook the best candied yams I have ever eaten. And she cleaned the house good too. But we had this granny lady that came and cooked, and that's when George would, she cooked turnip greens, and he'd get his turnip greens in his plate and pour syrup in them. And she just couldn't stand that.
Didn't we have a gypsy that was doing some ironing in our house one time and stole some stuff from Myrna's?
Lord Roger, I don't, way back in my mind, it seems like it, but I don't remember that.
Well, Myrna will have to
Myrna
confirm
will have
or laugh at me for even asking that question, I guess. Seemed like to me, we had some gypsies that used to come park and stay out
Uh-huh,
just about between the store and that old house.
yeah.
Seemed like to me that one of them was in the house or something one time and walked out of there with some of Myrna's stuff or jewelry or necklace, bracelet or something. When you and Daddy moved to Georgia, y'all moved into a trailer, didn't you?
Brought our trailer with us.
You brought your trailer with you?
No, I guess we bought it over home.
Oh, did you?
Mhm.
You bought it over in Alabama?
No, we didn't. I take it back. We bought it over here, going to Marietta, there's a big, trailer park over
Okay.
there. We bought it there.
Dutton's Trailer Court, right?
Yeah.
That,
And we done that because we were fully thinking to go back to Alabama.
what's the name of that, Dixon Shopping Center? That trailer court used to be just about behind that and where Concord Body Shop is at. Right down that little road where Concord Body Shop is
It's
located.
still a little, there's still a trailer.
They
court.
still got a trailer court in there?
Mhm.
Okay. And what church was it you and Dad belonged to?
Tillman. Tillman,
Tillman Baptist Church?
no, Methodist.
Okay. Tillman United Memorial Methodist
Yeah,
Church, right?
That's right.
Okay. Who's some of the people that y'all become friends with now through the years over there at Tillman?
Well, of course, Milan View, Violet, Milo and Beulah McDaniel been out for in their sexual mobility.
Uh-huh.
And, I can't even think of nobody. I know we had more friends than that.
You got any favorite preachers that y'all had there at the church? Now, cut the tape, cut the tape.
Yeah, cut it. Don't wanna say.
Well, Florence and Irby lived over in Smyrna
Yeah, they
when you
did.
first,
Uh-huh.
years ago.
Actually, we were over at their house 2 or 3 times a week playing cards.
Playing cards.
Yeah, marbles.
What's the lady that you run around with that carries you to get groceries and stuff now? What's her name?
Virginia Davis.
Virginia Davis. She's helped you out quite a bit in the last few
She
years,
sure
hasn't she?
has. Yeah, she's been real good to me. All 3 of those friends have, when Virginia wasn't around, I could call them some of the rest of them. Virginia belongs to the Georgia Valley ambassadors. She's down there once every other week, nearly all day.
Well, I've about run out of questions to ask you, Mom. If you can't come up with some interesting
Some
tidbits of information that we would like to put on this newsreel.
Oh, Lordy mercy. I just want to tell all my grandchildren that I love them to death. I really do. Grandma loves all of you. And the little great-grandkids, I love them too. They're all sweet as they can be.